Katharine and Dave here from Fantasy Fitnessing, and we are here for our Week 2 Fantasy Review and Week 3 Fantasy Chat. So, last weekend we had Fitness in Cape Town and the MidAtlantic CrossFit Challenge. How did everybody do, Dave?
Well, congratulations to our winners. So first place, William Hall 2016. So back-to-back podium finishes for him. So I guess you can never have too many pairs of sunglasses for the summer. His winning team, Noah Olson, Jake Berman, Brandon Jacobs, Michelle Morand, Daniel Brandon, and Christina Lividakakis. He had 77 points. Just 4 points behind him was Jerry at 27.73. And in third place, Slippery Hands at 27.67. So our top three all within 10 points of each other. So it was an exciting race there. And then in true Week 2 fashion, our fourth place team, I guess going to the last chance qualifier, Dreaming of Muscle Ups, was just 1 point behind out of the podium there. So kind of on brand for Week 2 of CrossFit semifinals.
Yeah, even Fantasy's 1 point apart.
Yeah. My team, I was 25-12, so a bit further back, I think 30th or something like that. My big misses, Rune Duvenage. I kind of pumped him last week as the guy to challenge Jason Smith. And again, a year off with him. Kaylin Henry ended up taking that game's ticket out of Fitness in Cape Town, so congratulations to him. Hit Jake Berman as my sleeper this week, but then Dina Swift kind of drew me down on the women's side there. So, but top half of the leaderboard's pretty good, so I'm happy with that.
Nice, yeah. Top half is a good way to go.
Yeah. And then on the CrossFit or Clydesdale Media live show, so every Tuesday during semifinals, we're doing a live draft on their YouTube channel. I got a 2-game win streak going on now with a Week 2 win here. So, again, my team went heavy with the Fitness in Cape Town group just because they're lesser known, but still get the same amount of points. So my team, Michelle Morand, Michelle Bassinet, Brooke Wells, Rune Duvenage, Jake Berman, and Mitchell Stevenson was about 250 points ahead of Coach Cat. Third place was Charlie, Mr. Mobility. Fourth was Scott Clydesdale, and 5 was Amy. Amy had Hunter Holyfield, who didn't look like he competed this weekend. But, draft leagues add a little different element since you can only have each athlete once.
Yeah, it's kind of fun how different the teams sort of are. All right, and then that is Week 2. On to Week 3 salary cap strategy. How should we do this week?
Yeah, so this week I'm finding tricky just setting my team and prepping for this show. I don't see a lot of late round sleepers that I'm totally confident in, so it's going to make it a bit trickier. And then certainly on the Granite side, they are super top heavy in terms of athletes, so I'm not really confident with the mid-range picks either. So this one's probably going to be the trickiest of the first 3. So looking at Week 3 in the salary cap, starting with the Far East throwdown. On the men's side, you really kind of have the top 2 athletes there that are probably going to be leaps and bounds ahead of the rest of the field just because of people who dropped due to not being able to compete or not being able to leave the U.S. more specifically. So you got Roman Krenikov and Alexander Ilin. Kind of see them being a lot further ahead than the rest of the field. So probably going to be in those high 500 for points for their position. And then on the women's side, Suguyen Choi, she was a Games athlete last year. Certainly when it came to quarterfinals, she ran away with the field there. So I think there is, if you're going to look for filling out some top end there isn't a lot of competition. So I think those 3 athletes probably are, want them on your roster just due to the lack of competition there. And then looking over on the Granite side, starting with the women, so you got Mal O'Brien, who just ran away with the Open and dominated quarterfinals, sitting there. I think she's the only $60 athlete we have on the women's side. And then other Games athletes to look at is Barnhart and Spiegel, or Amanda Barnhart, Danny Spiegel, and Emily Rolfe. from those three, obviously O'Brien and then Barnhart and Spiegel, depending on how you want to, build out your team. I don't feel super confident with Emily Rolfe this weekend. Just Emily Rolfe's really great at running, just kind of that general athleticism that you see at the games that I think just coming out of a six event competition may not have the events for her strengths to combat the lift. That is always a bit of a struggle from her. So I would probably take Fisa Gaffey or Chloe Wilson over Emily Rolfe. Both those athletes are in the $40 range, where Rolfe, Barnhart, and Spiegel at $50. Jill, again, just kind of trying to lower it down to have some athletes I'm pretty sure about. Probably, again, on the women's side, won't take Mal O'Brien just because she's $60. Probably take a Barnhart or Spiegel just to save $10 and put that somewhere else. And then on the men's side, you got Brent Fikowski, Chandler Smith, and Sam Quant, who's kind of the top three, at least from a seed perspective. All three of them are $50. I'm going to probably take Phil Toon this week. He's, one of the $40 athletes, but again, just based off of the brute strength squad in, the first couple weeks of semifinals, I think Toon's probably a sure thing to finish up in the top three. And so to be $10 less than those other guys, I'll probably take him. And then just, again, looking back to week two, the comp train crew, Cindy Mikulishin and Cole Sager both performed pretty well. So I think that's probably good signs for Amanda Barnhart and Chandler Smith this week as well. I think there's probably a little bit more confidence in them than in years past. So probably take both of those this week as well.
Yeah, I think I agree with sort of all of that. I just set my lineup before we recorded this just to see. Another guy on the Asian side of things also is Anthony Haynes, because there's a number of guys pulled out. I think he'll be probably pushing for some points on the Asian men's side too. So I have him on my lineup.
Yeah. I think he was fifth from a quarterfinal standpoint, and went to the games in 2018 and was a mainstay at regionals for a while up there. I guess looking again at specifically the men's field at Granite, after you get through those top four, there's just a slew of people who could be in the mix. You got Tim Paulson, Travis Mayer, Colton Mertens, Matt Douglas. I think it's just going to be a real slugfest for those guys. And I don't know if I'm confident enough in any of them to really kind of commit to putting them in. So I'm going to probably go as many athletes as I can in that $50-$40 range, and then see if I can, kind of get a diamond in the rough there with the rest of the group.
Yeah, I think that's kind of why I added Anthony Haynes, because I think Matt Douglas, and then it's just I don't know who's going to hit. I haven't looked at the events, the workouts and stuff yet, so I might be changing once I sort of look at those a little bit to see if I could try and pick one of the Granite men that's more likely to hit. There's just so many of them. So I'm kind of doing what I did last week of default to the lesser known fields that are slightly less competitive as a whole. So there's maybe more points that are going to be grabbed by those guys.
Yeah, looking at sleepers this week, a couple within the Granite side that I think could have some potential. So on the women's side, Danielle Olivieri, she was 125th in the Open this year. So pretty high considering, everybody else in the field. So might be able to, again, steal some points from, some events. Obviously, the Open is not as heavy or as technically sound as we see in quarterfinals. But again, with those $10 to $20 athletes, if you can get them in the top 15 in the field, you're winning there. And then on the men's side, Marshall Creed. So this year, he was 197th in the Open. So not the highest that you would want to see. But in quarterfinals this year, he did have an event finish within the top 5. So again, does have that kind of elite skill set that elite can at least bring you some points in when those events are in his wheelhouse there. Then kind of looking back, he's again regionals athlete. He's 20th in 2017, so does kind of have some history competing at these, semifinal regional type events. So again, just if you're looking for somebody to squeeze into your roster, those two athletes may fit the bill.
Yeah, those are great. Because I was sitting looking at like the $10, $20 athletes being like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Whereas those could be good. Sweet. All right, so that's the salary cap game. On to draft strategy.
Yeah, so draft strategy, I think, again, this is pretty top heavy from athletes and kind of both sides. Looking at it, if I have, top two picks, or one of the top two picks, I'm going to probably take Granite or Mal O'Brien from that standpoint. So they're kind of my second tier of athletes that I'd be drafting: Amanda Barnhart, Denny Spiegel, Brent Fikowski, Chandler Smith, Phil Toon, Sam Quat, Sugui and Choi, and Alexander Ilin. So again, all those athletes, really there, it's your personal preference if we think is going to fill out the mix. Then third rank, it's really just kind of the Granite women's side: Emily Rolfe, Fisa Gaffey, and Chloe Wilson. I think, those three are probably pretty solid in the 5, 6, 7 at Granite. And then from there, I'm probably going to switch over to the top seeded athletes at the Far East Throwdown. I think just if you are there probably isn't a lot of people in your draft league choosing people from the Far East Throwdown just because they're not familiar. So, we'll have our power rankings up within a link in our Instagram, or even you can just go to the quarterfinals leaderboard there and just kind of draft down that list once it's in there. So again, kind of a little cheat to go that way, that, those athletes will, get points, same as the ones in Granite, but you're just not as familiar with them. So helps you steal some points from your buddies, but also gives somebody else to cheer for that normally wouldn't.
Yeah, it makes it more fun, especially in some of those areas that we don't really know all the athletes, to watch them all actually compete with each other. There's some interesting races that come out. Even if you don't really know the athletes, it's still fun.
Yeah.
Especially if they're on your team.
Yeah. Yeah, when they're on their team, makes it there. But then you kind of get the big lead where, the leaderboards are loaded in the morning and Far East Throwdown athletes are in before the Granite athletes start their day. So it is nerve-wracking when you see your lead diminish every time the leaderboard's updated, but it's all part of the game.
Yeah. Sweet. All right, so that is our week 3 fantasy chat. We have preview shows up on our Fantasy Fitnessing podcast, as well as the Clydesdale Media YouTube. So if you want to sort of know more about the field strength, who's there, other athletes to watch, Dave's picks and dark horses, both Far East Throwdown and Granite Games videos are up. So check those out. We'll link them in the bio and stuff. And yeah, make sure you get your team set at fantasyfitnessing.com. Follow us at Instagram, or on Instagram at fantasyfitnessing, for different lists and stats and stuff that we're going to post throughout the week. And make sure your buddies are doing it too. It's fun. There's an affiliate leaderboard, so anyone from the box that you work out at, if they're playing fantasy, you guys will have your own little leaderboard to know if you're beating your friends, which is the best, because it's the only way that I can beat our coach. And yeah, so I think that's it. Dave?
No, that is all. Hopefully get your teams in. Throw up your team on Instagram. Tell us who you got.
Tag us. We'll share it. See if we can find out whether people think you picked a good team or not. And yeah, we will see you on the leaderboard.